let's continue with our next sessions on Unlocking Excellence, a session on digital transformation success story. This session will be presented by Mr. J. Shong, founder and CEO of Affintive. Over to you, Mr. J.
Okay, thank you so much, Indira. So a very good morning, all of you. I hope everyone else have a good session just now on cyber security, which is actually a very important session, and I actually find it enlightened and also very intrigued to how this has developed, and this will be a very important component moving forward. Especially we started to deploy our digital tools. We are being digitalized and we go into our digital era. So I mean, today I'm going to share just a little bit thoughts, about my digital transformation journey to every accountants, which are actually all my peers here, and to share a little bit how this is actually briefly deployed in our sector, and especially for those who are in SME or don't have such a big budget. That's always a great start to that. So just give me a moment. Let me share my slides. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes, Mr. J, we can see your slide.
Okay, so I will start with the beginning. So today I will be sharing a little bit about my digital transformation journey. So I think as an accountant, we always see that our job is to compile the data, like processing the data, doing a data entry and things like that to make a financial statement become accurate and relevant. I mean, those are those days I was trained, and eventually we can see throughout that past 5-10 years, things has gradually evolve and become more and more I would say digital, and this will actually help to a lot of our accountants that the mundane daily tasks, particularly that's always done by the junior, will continue to be soon to be closely obsolete. So I think to begin with our digital transformation journey, right? I think the first most important is what are the driving force behind it. So essentially, I know when I started this journey, the driving force behind is actually looking for data. Essentially, accountants plays an important role inside a company because they are dealing with data on a daily basis. Those data, like every day, we feel like we are very boring, we are very blue on going to the work and started entering all these information, bills, invoices, and things like that. These are actually data for a business, because this data essentially is for the management to do a lot of things, which is the four main category, like faster decision making, stay competitive, improve the outcomes of their business decision, and also closing gaps that the company currently facing. So this data, right, is become more and more important, and I believe most of the company now are actually rely a lot more on the data nowadays. So essentially, by having this driving force, right, that actually drives the desire to actually be more digital, because technology nowadays, it's a cold hard fact that it will going to be faster, it's going to be more accurate than any human being intervenes. So that's why that's the key mindset to bring on for the rest of the session today. So essentially, technologies like beside the cyber security that we talk about, that's actually governance, the ethics, and also the control, which is now we all know about, that's currently available in the market. We are talking about artificial intelligence, AI, we're talking about machine learning, we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about robotic process automation, and lastly, we're talking about the big data. So to me is that I think that is the technology world and the technical people in the IT world that are currently trying to bring us a leap up front to the next era of the technologies. But for us accountant, we probably won't be like, programming certain like blockchain or programming certain machine learning program. So for us is we merely be able to embrace that and ride this wave of technology. So what we're talking about, we are talking about applications today. So I think so application means not just about applying what we know, the knowledge, as what Kati mentioned. We also apply the application, the software that's available in the market for us to work out and test out how it is for him. So here I got some sample here. It's a software companies and application software that generally used by accountants. I'm not sure how much you known about most of them, but each of them I chosen that because they represented a very different landscape on how they do things in their I would say in their area. So I think lastly everybody knows will be always the Power BI, the yellow icon, which is developed by Microsoft. So I think first thing is Xero. I think everybody comes with that. It's a small and medium business accounting software, cloud-based, have 3 million users worldwide. And what the major things I like about it is this is a statement of cash flow. Because it's I think for accountants, I think you all understand that cash flow statements has a direct method as indirect method. Most of the company software that actually develop, they don't actually provide the statement of cash flow as a template. Whereas this particular company, the development this cash flow template that's actually seen in our financial statement beside the P&L and the balance sheet. And the best of that is that it's actually using direct cash flow method because the direct cash flow method has actually more informative session. Then we can actually be able to for the investor or any readers of the financial statement, they are able to analyze more accurately. So at the same time, they even give you a simple projection cash flow. I mean, not to be very sophisticated or like very accurate, but it depends on what your data input is, and then it can give you something that you used to need to do in Excel, but now it's actually on a dashboard. So this is accounting software basis. What about this particular company called Fathom, who are actually quite famous in UK and Australia as well? This is actually a forecasting tools. So these tools actually helps you to do revenue projection, and you do forecasts based on the set of data they actually prepare. So you don't have to actually type the figures into the Excel and then prepare the charts and then prepare the pie and everything like that. It gives you that analysis, and it also gives you a list of ratio that you don't even have to calculate yourself, but you just need to understand what exactly these ratio KPIs work. For example, account receivable days, inventory turnover days, and so on and so forth. So, and it can even project it, forecast using a best case scenario or a worst case scenario using a linear algorithm methods. That's a bit more related to the statistic insight that's working behind the engine behind. So at this stage, right, these are the two main tools like what accountants could probably see or probably be deployed that help us on their daily life, where they don't actually have to, compiling the Excel all the time, and also be able to work out the things and submit and the reports on the regular basis. So the next one I'm going to introduce, this is called Valetical. Valetical is actually a valuation software. So they helps you to actually using the valuation method that's available in the market to value your company or any clients that require a valuation. So they have a database behind. They say that they have a 3 terabyte database behind around the world that can help you to do benchmarking and comes out with the valuations. So these are actually currently workable solution on the market that's actually be deployable if you actually subscribe that. So notwithstanding that, what I'm trying to say is that a lot of software already be able to done a lot of things for you, and then is able to generate things and things like that. And the next one is I'm trying to share with you is maybe many of the accountants may thinking that, or even if you are currently a student, you're going to graduate in the accounting field, you probably would think that my job starter will be data entry and things like that. Let me share with you this software as well. This software actually eliminates data entry. So literally, if you generated any file, it will actually process it by this software. They will use OCR method, which is an optical character recognition method, to pull out the information and preview the data for you. It saves you from data entry. And it can integrate it to SAP, it can integrate it to Oracle, and so on and so forth. So, it's at that time when I was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I had to do data entry. Maybe today, if you're a graduate, you don't have to do data entry anymore. So that's why you just need to drop the files in there and it will process that for you. And of course, at the back end there, as an accountant, what your value is, you go into planning and coordinate the chartered accounts so that it actually automated smoothly and it will post it automatically. Of course, when it comes to a more advanced deployment, especially for larger organization, they will go for Microsoft product, which is the Power BI service, because they can tailor all the situation in a dashboard. Whatever I mentioned in the front will always be get tailored here. So this is a sample of the tailored situation, and it's actually be live as long as when you open up this app, refresh it, the data will pull from their database. The database can be a SQL server, it can be Microsoft Access, whichever database that is built inside the organization. So what I'm trying to say here is the brief introduction on is that the accountants nowadays is very, very different from the times when I used to be. So that's why a question always asked is, what's left for accountants? So we always say that we need to deliver insight, but how do we actually deliver insight if we don't have time to deliver insight, to analyze and to build strategy with our clients and with our people that surrounded us? So I think that essentially left for accountant is that we need to be able to deliver this when technology help us to release us from our day-to-day mundane job. So I think this is very important because I think this will help the business to understand the value of accountant itself, and this will actually essentially help the accountants to be able to a few more I would say proud and important to the work that they are currently doing. So then of course the next things that accountant needs to do nowadays is very, very hard to master, because back in 10 years ago, when technologies are actually not so advanced, we only become the user of these accountants. We can't actually be able to deliver a lot of things because of the restriction from the technology. So I think one of the new skill set that accountant is going to do here is basically connecting the technology, because technology is going to help us to make our work process a bit faster, a bit more accurate. So I think as in my business alone, right? As in my business alone, I get a lot of queries from our clients and say that, how are we going to do this? Is there any software available on that to actually help us to do that? And how are you going to deliver this for us? So I think it's a bit more using the technology by connecting what the clients want. Not so withstanding that we are becoming like a software vendor and software provider, but in such that we are become that sort of the information center whereby we can advise our clients that all these technologies and the software available on the market, and how are we going to deploy more effectively if you were to use this software. And this particular software, what are the outcome objectives and the impacts actually, applicable to your business, and what this software is going to do to help you to be able to more able to integrate it with the data, so that you'll be able to get your data in live and accurate moment whenever you want and wherever you go. So I think that's why I leave a space here, because I think the first three we talk about quite often. We understand that this is going to be the case that going to help us to be able to build such a relationship and the strategy that is required. So that's why when it comes to that, we need to build a relationship with clients, because a lot of times, most of our accountants, we sort of like this integrated with our clients. They do their things, we do our things, we give them a report, they analyze themselves. They don't even know, you don't know what they are analyzing, you don't know what they are deriving based on your result. You are just merely make sure that the data is correct for them to deliver, but we never bother about that. So I think that is the essential issues that they're currently facing, and that's why we want to I would say we want to encourage a lot of people to start exploring, because it's actually not hard to do that. Because I always using this analogy from a kitchen perspective is that starting something, if you want, there's no such thing as a super app that can do everything at one go. Just like in the kitchen, you always have your pot, your pan, your non-stick pan, your oven, your microwave to do whatever things is. So that's why for accountant to deploy technologies and using software, we can't wait until a super app delivered, because it can never be. We can only start to use individual software and to derive something. So for example, just now I earlier mentioned, if I need an accounting software, I may go for Xero, I may go for Maya, I can move for SAP and things like that. If I want something forecast, I can use Fathom. If I want valuation, I can go for Valuatical. And if I need OCR that eliminate data entry for juniors, we can go for that Blue Sheets as well. And ultimately, once you actually get the hang of it, and then we know what we want, we can deploy a more sophisticated tool, because like Power BI, Microsoft, because that essentially will helps you to create a customized solution when you only know what you want. If you don't know what you want, a customized solution is always not a go for you. So I think what else, I always say for accountant is what else is left other than what I earlier mentioned, is we have to make use of the technology. Just like we make use of our email, we make use of our WhatsApp. It is actually become part of life in our daily communication with our clients and any other stakeholder. And then of course, the next one is we need to be able to equip ourselves, upskill ourselves to analyze and improve the process. And we have to build and invest for the growth. Because I think I will just borrow what Kati in the previous session said. Asking the right question, right, is actually a very simple statement, but to derive that asking the right question skill, we need to be able to equip the capability of be able to analyze, to be able to make use of what is available on the market. It is always to make use of what is going to improve the so-called process and the business life between your clients and yourself. And of course, last but not least, I just have to make sure that encourage everyone here is always stay open mind, because things are developing so fast, and we definitely can't catch up. But we need to know what is actually lies ahead, and there's what's actually be able to enable us to deploy that particular project that helps the company accountant, so that this state, we will always tell outside people that our accountant is just not an accountant that you typically perceive. Our accountant is basically a bit versatile, a bit more all-rounded, that we are able to understand and apply our professional knowledge through the use of different kinds of tools and technology, and to help us to derive the outcome that is usable for both parties. So today is a very short sharing for me. And with that, I thank you for the session. So we will jump on to our Q&A, and I hope that I can answer your question on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. J. We move to the first questions.
Sure.
One moment. How did your organization measure the impact and ROI of its digital transformation efforts?
Okay, yeah, I think this is a very good question that everybody asks when it comes to the ROI of the software. How I actually evaluate the impact and the ROI is definitely there will be a process. There will always be a process on using and deployment the technology on the digital transformation effort. Because the digital transformation effort is actually not just about using the tools, but also equip the people with the mindset that be able to stay abreast of the technology. For example, let me take a very, very simple question. It's like the clients may always say that I want to give you all my files. I want to send in all my files to your office. Can you just do that for me? But of course, a lot of times people might say, yeah, just do it. But if you have that digital transformation mindset, I say, maybe we can start digitize everything. Like initially we start scanning, eventually we avoid scanning even because we get everything in digital. So when the impact is going to be seen is when you started, not only you see your team started to be more digital minded about or digital aware about things that can be done digitally. So I think that is the impact that we would like to see in my organization and in my organization as well. But in terms of the ROI, to be honest, we always need to allocate a budget to test around things because even the original software that we used to deploy, they get improved. And the new features, right, they definitely will develop that features for a purpose because they see there's a demand for that. So I think the ROI is not something that will be seen in monetary form, but also will be in intangible form.
Okay, we go to the next question. What is the turning point? Why did you decide to embark on digitization for your company?
I think the turning point on that is having a so-called a one source truth of the cloud-based data. Like I mentioned in the early slide, that data is always the main derive on that, and we can have our data anywhere. Back in 15 years ago, my data is actually in my office room in a file where I just need to do that. But given today's, it's really impossible that we can always go back to the office to derive the data. We always hope that we get the data, in handy in our, even the simplest as Google Drive. So I think that itself has decided me to actually embark this process because ultimately, the junior workforce or the younger workforce or even the current workforce nowadays, they are looking at different sets of arrangement in terms of the work. We are talking about hybrid working, we're talking about work from home things and things like that. I think because of this, right, anticipating this, we need to be able to versatile about how our organization process doing in order to, I would say, balance between myself, my company objective versus the employee's objectives.
Okay, next question. What is the biggest challenge you faced the digital transformation journey and how was they overcome?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge I will always split into two ways. One is, of course, is financially because software itself it's not relatively cheap, but not relatively expensive, depending how you see that. Because if you use it as a research, testing, and things like that, then it is the cost. If you have already client who already deploy that and use it, and you'll be able to write on that, then of course that is a benefit that is actually not a challenge for you. Then of course, on the second part is getting the people nowadays to be embarked on this digital transformation, because like when we hire the people, when we started our business here, when we hire, like whenever it comes to interview, they will say that my job is to do data entry and things like that. So process that. But when I say how are you actually processing, of course they will say that this is how I process, which is data entry and things like that. So that's why I think when they are actually on board with us, it's a transition phase that they have to switch over, saying that I feel like I got nothing to do because I got nothing to enter anymore because system and software already process that for it. I merely become a reviewer. But like if you're actually been in a junior, graduate and in the workforce 1 to 2 years, sometimes it's very hard for you to do review because you never actually embark in that review. So normally I would say that, I tell them that is that you need to be able to quickly transit to that because you no longer entry. So your time here is to review what the system actually processed on that is correct or not. Chances is 80% is always correct, or even 90% is always correct. You just need to work out on that 10%. So I think that challenge itself to transition towards that digital transformation journey, not just a junior, but the senior or even my management itself, including myself, to constantly reminded and making ourselves aware that it's always a challenge. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next questions. Can you highlight any cultural or organizational changes that were necessary to support the digital transformation journey?
I think in anywhere of the world, including Malaysia, right? I think if you're talking about necessary changes, right, it always comes from the boss. It's really depending on what the boss wants and they have to follow. So if you are being open-minded management and you continuously press on that and you continuously fight the budget or allocate a budget for that, then I think this will help and this will also be able to support the entire organization and the teams to actually embark on this digital journey. Cultural wise, I think it's all about leveraging or so-called riding the current waves that the people around it are more or less digital or tech savvy to a certain extent, that whereby we know how to use application, just like, we all know how to use Facebook, we know how to use TikTok and things like that. But that culture means that we have to get used to everything to be used digital. Like for example, if I see my desk got paper, then I will say why this paper is coming, and then you start to ask that kind of question and like joke about that culture, say that no, the paper is too not environmental friendly. I think when you start to institute and cultivate this kind of culture, I believe that I think this will support them to be more digital savvy, and they will be more willingly to transform. And it doesn't have to be a very big effort or so-called a big agenda to do that. It's like it comes through to your day-to-day life.
Okay, Mr. J. Okay, next questions. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your digital transformation journey?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Because I think that mistake always pass, is always incur, and we always learn how to actually be able to be able to see that if I were to do this again, it would be always better. So I mean, the main thing I would share that if I were to done it differently is that I will actually be able to set the structure on how my digital strategy, transformation strategy will be. So everybody that's come on to that is you'll be able to follow the direction. However, I have not done it in the past simply because at that point in time, first of all, is I do not know what is available on the market enough. I'm not informative enough. We are not going to see how it's going to change our certain process by deploying certain things. And of course, we didn't emphasize enough for our people to embark on that. We tend to be loose on that. So I think all these little things that if I were to done it again, I would be more, I would say, a bit more strict in terms of that, a bit more insist, so that I think we would get our digital transformation journey a lot faster into the way that we want to have.
Okay, that's a good insight, Mr. J. So let's move on to the next questions. Can you share any unexpected benefits or outcome for your company that resulted from the digital transformation efforts?
Yes, I think the unexpected outcome and the benefit is, I think internally, I think everybody is actually happier because they don't have to work I would say like late, because everything is they can finish on time without the needs of OT, because the actual mundane task is actually taken by the technology. Because like for example, when you do a data entry, when you enter invoice into the software, it might take you 1 minute to 2 minutes. But if you actually review a transaction done by a system, it may only take you 15 seconds. So human, technically we are not robot, so we can't just multiply like that. So that means 1 minute of 4 reviews versus 1 minute 1 entry. You cannot do like that. But of course, if let's say you'll be able to process, you will be sober to process the data for 4 hours a day. Then imagine if you spend 4 hours to review, then of course the volume on that is literally like fourfold, which is 4 times more. Yeah, so I think this is an unexpected benefit that they will see that actually with that, and this will help a lot. So sometimes when it comes to a new client onboarding, when they have all this legacy data that hasn't been digitalized, my team will started to make some noise because it's a bit too heavy loaded that has to process. But I always say it is a process and everybody has to go through. It's a transition process. So I think this is the unexpected benefit outcome. It's not monetary, but it's actually a satisfaction from everybody.
Okay, next question. What is your next digitalization plan?
Yeah, I think that's I think so far we have done everything as electronic as possible. That is from the hardware side of the things. In terms of the next digitalization plan, I would say is that it will be significantly relies on how we are going to deliver the information to our client in a more instant way, because currently we are still able to communicate through sending reports, sending the insights and things like that. So in terms of that, I think what we're going to hope to achieve is that from all this data is available, how are we going to be able to deploy that even more efficiently and more faster? So I think getting that digitalization plan right now for the next is not going to help me to deploy another software or so, whatever, or unless there's something that's going to change the entire workflow. So we will be re-looking at our current working processes and see what are the gaps that we need to close before we are waiting for the new invention or new improvement from the technology scene. Yeah.
Okay, we have few questions left. The
Okay.
next one. How did your company prioritize its digital transformation initiative and ensure alignment with business goals and objectives?
Yeah, I think that will always be the main priority. So it means that the business goal is always a goal you want to achieve, and the objectives you want to achieve is always being there. Is that how are you going to deliver that? Are you going to deliver it in the pathway A, which is going to be less digitalized, or you're going to be all in the pathway B is completely digitalized? Ultimately, the goals will be achieved depending, but the process of achieving it will be very different. The difference will be coming from the digitalization, the time taken, of course, the mundane, the annoying part of the mundane task and things like that will gradually help that actually separated from that. So that's why prioritize this initiative is always be more important on the other side, because the true fact is that if you're using a lot of digital tools, right, you always will get there faster. So people always ask me these questions like, how many staff you have in the company? Especially a client asks me this question, right? The underlying question is always things that I want to assess how big your company are. But this is the mindset where we always seen in the past. Of course, let's say if you have 10 people, that means your company could be small. But of course, if your business is growing bigger, the number of workforce will gradually increase. But what is actually going to change in the digital transformation process is that last time 10 people can do, let's say, 5 million business. Maybe the next time the 10 people can do 10 million business. I think 10 million of sales. So I think that could be a benchmark that, next time you probably, if you ask a question, is that how many staff you in the company, but at the same time, how many sales you are going to. I think that could significantly drive the differences in terms of how to manifest this digital transformation journey of myself.
Okay, Mr. J, we still have time, so 3 more questions for you.
No
The
problem.
next one. Do you feel that that the Malaysia's e-invoicing system a good digital initiative for the business community?
Of course, definitely. I think this e-invoicing system is actually been already been discussed quite a number of years already. Like for example, in Australia, they already had that system ready available, but they never deploy it because there's no compulsory yet. It's currently under the voluntary basis. Of course, the take-up rate, as you can understand, has always been high. But that does not mean that the system is not ready. Likewise, in Malaysia, is why this is coming out is because I think we are embarking the so-called the best practices from the OECD initiative, and we want this e-invoicing deployment to be able to help the digital initiative of the business community. Of course, the reason given by different parties from a different perspective is always there are a lot of factors consideration. But talking about the digital initiative of the business community, yes, it is actually a good digital initiative. If you look back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, 2014 when GST was implemented, you can see a lot of restaurants switching into a POS because of that. So I think, well, I mean, we need some sort of law or rules to kick us that. But once you get over that, right nowadays, people even with under the SST environment, we no longer have a GST. The POS system is being deployed. So I think it's a good initiative.
Okay, the next questions. Any tips or tricks for choosing the right digital transformation tool?
I think there will not always there will no such thing as right digital transformation tool, because every single tools can do certain things up to a certain extent. There will definitely be better in certain area. That's where they commanded their differentiation. So in terms of the tips and tricks, right? I think you basically need to understand what are you trying to achieve. For example, in accounting software, there are plenty in the market. You need to understand what are you trying to achieve using that. Then that will be able to justify. So important is actually what what is your current process and what is your objectives of going to that. You need to compare to Apple to Apple. You cannot compare a cloud-based ready software versus an ERP, because you are not comparing Apple to Apple. But if you do not know what you want, you go for an ERP. I have client and we have faced the cases that we need to reroute and we need to spend money. They have to spend money on us to revisit the entire workflow because they use the ERP only until that, you have spent like thousands of dollars a month in subscription, whereby you can just buy an on-shelf cloud-based that you can only spend hundreds, because you are using the features similarly the same. And then why at that time you actually go and deploy ERPs on that? So I think that's a very important concept that always bear in mind. And in our past operating year, we have encountered so many that when I say that just now, when during my sharing session, all the software that can really deploy an ERP can do, because you only use this feature. It's not that ERP is not good, it's because you actually use that. So I think the tips and trick is find out what exactly you want before you actually use that. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. J, last question for you. Looking ahead, what do you see as the future trends and challenges in digital transformation?
Of course, I think when we talk about future means I myself, and including people in our generation, I'm born in the 80s, we are continuing growing older. So I think the newer generation who actually currently in universities, in high school, or even just entering the workforce, they have to see that things already change. Whatever you don't come in as a data entry, like my graduate, they don't come in as data entry anymore, because they just start with review the accounts. They'll start to compiling report and start to slightly do a minimum ad hoc analysis. Not of course not the full, but that's essentially your first job is going to be comparing that. Last time we do data entry, like I would say 1 minute, one invoices versus 15-second reviewing the data. So I think that trends, right, and challenges is how our current workforce or how our current people be ready and be equipped. Because when it comes to the digital transformation process, because the tools are really deployed, like we have accounting interns that actually come in, they got no photocopy to do. Because there's nothing to photocopy at all, because there's no paper. So how do you compare that in versus my time where I have to do photocopy, I have to do checking, tick the checklist. There's no such thing anymore. So I think it's completely upside down, the turn, but I would say every challenge is an opportunity. That, why I say so, because a lot of people say that I don't want to be accountant because accountant job is so boring, accountant job is so busy. But if you look at this successful digital transformation process journey, I don't think I don't think that will be boring anymore. That's be more exciting in my point of view. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. J, for the
Okay.
insightful sessions. And thank you, everyone, for sending in the questions.